This is a short video on area and perimeter. To begin, I just want you to take a look at the slide that I have in front of you right now. If you notice in area, they have the area, as far as how it's spelled, shaded in to show you that when you find the area, you're going to be measuring the inside of a shape. And on perimeter, they have shown you where they've traced the outside of the word perimeter, which shows you that when you go to find the perimeter, you will be measuring the outside of a shape. Keep that in mind throughout the lesson. Okay, so now we have a shape to the left of our area formula, and keep in mind that there is a formula to find the area, which is length times width. But you can also, when you have problems like this with the square units in the background, you can just count the square units. So let's quickly practice that. Okay, I have 1 right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So now I know that my area is going to equal 21. And when we measure area, we actually measure it in square units. Okay? We weren't given a unit as far as centimeters and inches or anything like that, so we can just say that it's 21 square units. Okay, so now we're going to take our formula, the formula that we have, length times width, and we're going to apply that to the same shape. It's a lot like looking at an array, and keep in mind that when we are multiplying length times width, we are actually using repeated addition. We already counted this side, and we knew we had 7. Okay, so if I do that again quickly just to show you, we have 7 on this side, and that's going to be our length, and now our width is going to be 3. If you notice, we have 3 dots across as far as our width goes. So now that we have 7 times 3, we can plug those in. Our length, we said, was 7, and our width, we said, was 3, and we know that we are going to be multiplying. So let's multiply 7 times 3, and that's going to give me the area of 21. And again, it's going to be square units. Okay? So either way works for finding area. I find that using the formula is easier if you know your multiplication facts, while counting the square units is easier if you do not know your multiplication facts. The only issue with this, though, is if you don't have the square units given, you cannot count the square units. So we'll look at a problem like that here in a second. So here we have a problem where we are not given the square units. We only are given the length and the width. So we have to apply that area formula to solve this problem. So I know that my length, if I look over here, I'm given the length of 12 centimeters, and I notice that my width, if I look over here, I am given 6 centimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 12 times 6, which is going to give me, if I know my multiplication facts, this is easy, it's going to give me 72. Oh yeah, that's going to be 72 centimeters square, since we are given the unit over here of centimeters. So we won't just say square units, we'll say centimeters square. But this is using the formula for area and not counting the square units, which you're probably going to have to use a lot more in 4th grade and even in 5th grade when you start finding the area of larger shapes and more complex shapes. So it's important that we keep this formula in mind. Okay, so now let's take a look at finding the perimeter. If you notice up here at the top, I went ahead and wrote my perimeter formula, which is side plus side plus side plus side. Or if you have more than 4 sides, it's just all of the sides added together. We have a rectangle in front of us, so let's go ahead and look. We know that one side is 12. I'm going to use my highlighter to show that this side is 12. Now, if I notice, this side is the same size as this side. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to have 12 over there, and we can assume that this side is also 12. Okay? if we look down here, we have 6, and again, we can assume, since we have a rectangle, that since we have 6 on the bottom, we're also going to have 6 on the top. So now we can just plug this into our formula of adding all 4 sides. I'm going to take 12 plus 12 plus 6 plus 6. Okay, first I'm going to add 12 plus 12, which will give me 24. I'm going to go ahead and add one of my 6's, which will give me 30. And then I'm going to add my last 6, which will give me 36. Okay, so the perimeter is 36 centimeters, and it's not square units because I was not counting the squares. I was not counting the inside. I was only counting the outside. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and say that the perimeter is 36 centimeters. Okay, so I wanted to look at some problems that were a little bit more complex than the last ones that we were looking at. If you notice, these shapes are not perfect squares and they are not perfect rectangles. So we have to decide how we're going to find the area. The best way to find the area of shapes like this is to just break them apart into squares and rectangles. So if you noticed, I went ahead and broke the one on the top left apart. Now I have 2 separate rectangles, and now I can just go ahead and plug in my formulas for those 2 separate rectangles. So the width, or actually let's look at the length of the first rectangle. The length of the first one is going to be 2. As far as the width, it's going to be 3. And 2 times 3, if I go back to my formula, that's going to give me 6. Okay? So now I have the area of one of the rectangles, so I'm going to go ahead and look at the area of the other. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over here. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and plug that in for length. And the width, again, is 2. 5 times 2 will give me 10. Now I'm not done because I have to add those together, and the reason I'm adding those together, keep in mind, is because that's going to be the entire rectangle, or the entire shape, those 2 rectangles combined. So I'm going to go ahead and add them together, and I'm going to get 10 plus 6, okay, which will give me 16, okay, as my area. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and look over to the other one. Alright, let me go ahead and find my marker. I'm going to go ahead and break this one apart as easy as I can. See a rectangle here and a rectangle here. So now I have 3 rectangles on this one compared to 2 on the other one. I'm going to start with the small one. My length is 1. My width is 2. 1 times 2 will give me 2. Okay, pretty easy. So my length over here is going to be 3. Okay, let me try that a little bit better. When my width is also going to be 3. So 3 times 3 is going to give me 9. Not done. Okay, got those 2 covered. It's time for my last one. My length is going to be 5, and my width is going to be 4. So now 5 times 4 will give me 20. And I add these 3 together. 20 plus 9 is 29. Plus 2 more is 31. So that's going to be the area for this shape. So the breaking apart method works pretty good as far as finding the area of shapes with different types of that are just different. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at some practice problems, and then we'll call it a day. All right. On number 1 over here, I'm going to try to find the perimeter first. Again, since I see that this side is 9, I can assume that this side is 9. Since I see this side is 7, since I have a rectangle, I can assume that that side is 7. Now I'm going to add up all those sides. 9 plus 9 will give me 18. So I'm going to record 18 up here. 7 plus 7 will give me 14. I use my mental math strategies here. Go ahead and add 10. 18 plus 10 will give me 28. Plus 4 more, because I have 14, that's going to give me 32. So my perimeter is 32 centimeters. Okay? Now my area, I'm just going to go ahead and take my 9 and multiply it times my 7. 9 times 7 is going to give me 63. Notice how my area is different than my perimeter. So I'm going to go ahead and plug my 63 in with centimeters square. Okay, so that problem was pretty easy. Go ahead and look over here at a different problem. Okay, and I have some of that weird stuff going on like we were talking about earlier. I have a weird shape on number 5. Okay, so let's try to break that apart. I see that I have 4 up here, and I see I have 5 over here, 2 over here, and 2 over here. Now this one's kind of tricky, so what I'm going to do first, since I don't have square units, is I'm going to go ahead and break it apart, and I've actually broken it apart with squares and with one square and one rectangle. Now since I notice this is 2, I can assume this is 2, this is 2, and this is 2, because I do have a perfect square. Now if I look up here at the top, okay, this is when it gets kind of tricky. Sorry, I'm going to go, well, mess that up. If I look up here at the top, I notice I have 4, and that's where I got my 2 down here, okay, because I knew 2 was half of 4, okay, and I can tell it's the halfway mark. So I went ahead and found the perimeter for that square, which gave me 2, 4, 6, 8 meters, okay, back to our metric system. Now I'm going to go ahead and find the perimeter of my other rectangle, okay. I know I have 4 over here, so there's one side. Now I have to ask myself the question of what side is this, and what size, sorry, is this over here, and this one over here, okay? Now, it's not giving me the exact measurement, but I notice I have 5 over here, okay? Now, I can't say that this side is going to be 5 because that's for this entire section, okay? So I have to think of what it could be. If I notice down here, and I know I'm using all reds, let me try to switch to another color. If I notice down here, if you see me putting this in orange, I knew this side was 2. So I know that I have 2 over here. And I know if this is total is going to be, if the total of this is going to be 5, I know that the rest of this has to be 3, because 3 plus 2, of course, will give me 5, okay? So now I have found this, the exact size of this side, okay? Sorry, I'm having some malfunctions. Okay, so 3 over here, and I knew 4 over here. I know if I have 4 up here, I have 4 down here. It's going to be kind of hard to see. I know if I have 3 over here, okay, I have 3 over here. So now 4 plus 4 will give me 8, alright? Now I'm going to take 8, and I'm going to add 3 plus 3. 3 plus 3 gives me 6. It's going to give me a total of 14. So now I have 14, and I'm going to add 14 to my original 8. Now, 14 plus 8, mental math, 14 plus 6 is going to give me 20, plus 2 more will give me 22. So down here on the line, I'm going to write 22 meters as the perimeter of the shape. Now, that took a while, and it got kind of sloppy, but breaking it apart like that and really thinking of what's going on in that actual shape, it really helped me, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and clear all of this out, and we'll call it a day after that.